Hey guys, what is up? So I watched JEFFREE STAR'S addressing my mental health, selling my house, and getting help so you don't have to. And Jeffree, he starts off the video with basically explaining how he's just been through a lot. And he says that for the first time, at age 35, he's going to be moving out of California. He's going to be selling his mansion, that palace, and he's going to be residing in Wyoming. Now, I don't think that's such a huge shocker because he's been living in Wyoming already, so he's just going to make Wyoming his full-time residence. Jeffree mentions that his businesses will still be resided in California, but he really needs to step away from California due to his mental health. Jeffree mentions that in 2020, it was really his time to reevaluate and reflect on his life. And he realized that he was running away from a lot of just the mental problems that he had. Jeffree says if he had to replay 2019 over again, he would, just because it was some of his biggest wins, working with Shane and that palette, whatever it was. But it was also a year where he took a huge loss in his relationship with Nate. And he also lost, throughout those years, his 2 dogs. When his dogs died, he had so much going on, so many distractions, launches, work. But once the launches were done, once, the work was done, he was just left in his thoughts again. And he just talked about how being in a huge mansion was just extremely lonely for him, and being alone really made him reflect on the human being that he was. It made him regret all of the silly things that he's done in the past. He talks about how his relationship with Nate, it was the first person who he was truly really in love with, and how it was so hurtful when that relationship was over. Jeffree felt like as he was living this busy life, he was existing without slowing down. Jeffree even throws it back and says 7 years ago, he was just living in a 2-bedroom apartment, had $500 to his name, and then 5 years later, his company was worth $500 million, and talks about how there wasn't really a life book for this, a playbook on life on how to deal with success, but also mental health issues, and there just wasn't. He just kept going and going and masking everything he felt on the inside, and just kept pushing and pushing and focusing on his business without really taking care of himself. Jeffree says that he didn't need to live in a house that big, but his ego said that he did. And as living in that palace, that mansion, he was still suffering internally. And speaking of internally, Jeffree even mentions that when he was in love with Nate, for the first time, that made him fall in love with himself internally, the first time in a very long time, which I thought was... It was interesting that it took someone to love him in order for him to really fall in love with himself for the first time. And mind you, I really just want to state my opinion here that I don't like Jeffree Star, but I did think it was sad to hear that he felt like he was never going to love again. And he's just look, that is okay. I'm never going to really love anymore. That's how I feel. And that he's just going to stop dating all the idiots and stop just, goofing around and really just take this time to focus on himself. Jeffree even goes back and says that in 2020, he was thinking these crazy thoughts of, should I even be alive? While thinking these thoughts, he was asking himself questions like, why do I do the things that I do? Why do I react the way that I react? Now, I thought this part was interesting because Jeffree starts to talk about the beauty community on YouTube. One says... is there even a beauty community on YouTube anymore? But 2, he lets us know, admits that he was part of the problem with the beauty community. He regrets the drama that he inserted himself in. He talks about how he was just swept in the drama, and it's just full regret at this point, and he hates the fact that people view him as, the drama person of the beauty community. Jeffree says that he's going to be a new and changed person, for real. He's not going to clap back or do exposing videos. And I feel like he was talking about Morphe, because Mind you, no one made him, but it was like a week or two ago. He went on like Snapchat and was like, you know, I think it's about time to do an exposing video about Morphe because there's so many things I need to say. No one made him do that, right? So I think he was talking about that when he said he's no longer going to be, you know, feeding into like, you know, the drama or exposing videos. That's not him. I think also too, if I'm just being honest, that I did a video on this and I felt like Morphe would have sued his ass anyways because Morphe is bigger than Jeffree Star. I've stated that before. And yeah, there was no way he could do an exposing video because his ass would be sued in a hot minute. Jeffree goes on to say that this is not an apology video. However, he is sorry for anyone he has truly hurt, but he's also sorry that he let other people hurt him. Now, Jeffree starts reflecting on how just like a bitch he was. You know, he actually compares himself to Regina George from Mean Girls, and he already knows the jokes is coming, how Regina George had a back brace and Jeffree did. But he was like, yeah, like he felt like he needed to amplify everything because that's what people wanted. He felt like he needed to act a certain way, act like a mean girl, and he's really regretted that. There's even a part in the video where he's like, I lost millions of followers, like you guys know what's up. And I thought that was funny because, you know, just like a few days ago, I saw Jeffree Star's sponsored posts on Instagram. I was like, he's sponsoring. He actually paid for people to go on his Instagram page. Mind you, Jeffree Star has millions of followers on Instagram, but I thought it was very funny or interesting. I almost did a video on it and I didn't. But I just thought it was really funny how he has to put out ads for people to go to his Instagram page. So he may have the followers, but he probably doesn't have the engagement. Either way, I just thought that was interesting. Now, Jeffree goes on to say that he's not here to play the victim and he regrets playing like all these mean girl roles. And I would assume he's talking about instances where he was making fun of like Trisha Paytas' skin. I know she's in the hot seat right now, but this video is not about her. But I would think moments like that to where Jeffree was just in the wrong, right? And he's just really regretful. Jeffree mentions that last year he sought therapy and he actually haven't received therapy since high school when he was self-harming himself, and how like there was one point, Jeffree says, to where he sat down to his family and just sobbed, you know, threw his heart out on the table, how he was feeling. And Jeffree mentions that he actually kicked everyone out of his house basically because he really just needed to focus on himself. And he was given a therapist's number and he would stare at that number for months, Jeffree said. And then finally he had the guts to really pick up the phone and call the therapist. I also thought it was interesting when Jeffree said that he was afraid to heal, was afraid to get better. Jeffree wants us to know that he's definitely changing for the better and that he's leaving California. Now it's not going to be forever. And he wants us to know that he's also taking care of his body now. He used to eat fast food all the time and now it's completely cold turkey, and he says he's not eating any fast food anymore, like nothing. He said that he just wasn't taking care of himself. Then Jeffree goes on to say that, you know, he's no longer, obviously he's still going to have his cars and things, but he's not going to be extra but just keep buying expensive things because he felt like he only did that to fill in the emptiness he was feeling. Jeffree mentions that he's also going to be more creative with projects now, so I guess we'll be seeing different projects from Jeffree Star, and that he felt like he didn't even know he could be at this place after his breakup with Nate. Jeffree ends his video with saying that he is back on the me train, no more exposing videos, no more like the drama stuff, that he's really just going to focus on himself and he's ready for this next chapter. So that was like basically the gist of the whole video. How I feel about it, I think that, you know, Jeffree went downhill as far as, I don't think a lot of people are buying his products anymore. I think that, you know, yes, he's probably happy in Wyoming, but I think giving up that house had a lot to do with the realization that, oh my goodness, you know, I was canceled and, you know, now a lot of people are not buying my shit anymore. And so now I can't, this house is not going to be sustainable anymore. And that's what I really feel like. I'm not saying that he's not happy in Wyoming, but I also feel like there's a money issue. When you have to put out an ad on Instagram for your own Instagram account, then yeah, there's some shit going on. So that's what I think. And, you know, as much as I don't like him, I don't want anyone to I would never wish anyone like their death, even if Jeffree has in the past. I would never. And so that is great that he is mentally good there. And I hope that, you know, with all the videos he's made in the past about I'm changing, I'm not gonna do this anymore, hopefully this is a more serious one. And I forgot to mention too, he did talk about how the accident changed him, and I'm hoping that, you know, everything happens for a reason. It's what Jeffree said in his video, right? So no, I would never wish that accident to happen to him, but you know, maybe this accident was like a blessing in disguise. Like maybe, you know, he had to go through all that stuff to really come to this realization that he doesn't need to be like an asshole. He doesn't need to be a bitch, you know. You could be respectable and you don't need to keep just stirring up drama. So I'm hoping that, you know, what Jeffree says in this video, he actually means it. And it seems like he does, but honestly, only time will tell. Leave a comment below. Let me know what you think. But this was it. This was like all of the stuff because I wrote it down and there was really nothing I left out here. But yeah, thank you guys for watching and I will see you on the next video. Bye guys.